Hey guys, so today we're going to do a mixed practice day of solving systems of equations algebraically, and if you recall we have two methods. First we learned substitution, which was when you have x equals or y equals, that's usually easier, and the second method we learned was elimination, and that's when you can get opposite coefficients of a variable and add the two equations together and get rid of one of them. So we start off, let's just do a couple of these together and then I'll let you guys work on some. So solve for y. X plus 4y equals 8 and x equals 4. Well, since x equals 4, we can substitute that in for x. So we get 4 plus 4y equals 8. 4y equals 4. Y equals 1. Done. Okay, so now we look, and what we have to start doing is deciding which method we want to use. Do we want to use substitution or do we want to use elimination? Well, I don't see anything as x equals or y equals here, and I very nicely see that x and negative x have opposite coefficients, 1, negative 1. So I can add together these functions. X minus x goes away, 3y plus negative y is 2y, and then 13 plus negative 5 is 8, which tells us that y is 4. And now that we know y is 4, we can go back and substitute 4 in to find out what x is. So I'm going to pick that top equation. I'm going to do x plus 3y equals 13. X plus 3 times 4 equals 13. Again, how did I do that? Because y equals 4, so bad path. So I substituted 4 in. So you get x plus 12 equals 13. Subtract 12 and you get x equals 1. So our final answer is 1, 4 is the point of intersection. Remember, graph both and you can check. Okay? So now for something like number 2, you're going to have to decide, do I want to use substitution or elimination? And you look here and you say, okay, wait a second. No opposite coefficients, nothing in x equals or y equals, so you can multiply these equations by something to get lead coefficients to be the same, or common coefficients in front of the same variable. So pick x or pick y, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to pick x, and I see 3x and I see 2x. Well, I know that a common multiple of 3 and 2 is 6. So if I multiply this whole equation by 2, I get 6x plus 4y equals 8. Now, what do I have to multiply the bottom one by to get negative 6x? That's negative 3. So if I multiply everything in the second equation by negative 3, I get negative 6x minus 9y, negative 33. Now I can add these together. And you guys can go ahead and finish and solve that. Right? You'll see what happens when you solve. Solve for y, plug y back in, get x, get your ordered pair. Number 3. Okay, now here's a little different because here I see something in y equals. Actually, I see two things in y equals. So instead what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take y equals, and whatever y equals, I'm going to substitute that in. And now an equation that had two variables will now be x minus 3 equals x squared minus x minus 6. All right. What do I do next? Well, notice quadratic. An x squared and an x to the first term. Well, if I subtract x and add 3, I'm going to get it set equal to 0 because it's a quadratic. We get x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. How do I solve a quadratic now set equal to 0? Well, since it wants us to do it algebraically, I can't just graph it and look for the roots. Instead, I'm going to have to factor. How do I factor trinomials with a 1 out front? Sum product, what adds and multiplies. So that becomes, let's see, what adds to negative 2 but multiplies to negative 3. X minus 3, x plus 1. And you get x equals 3, x equals negative 1. Now what's interesting here is that I get two answers. Well, that means I have to plug 3 in for x into one of the equations and negative 1. That means you're going to have 2 points of intersection. And if we were to graph these, you can see this is a parabola. And this is linear. This is a line. So yeah, a parabola, just a little sketch, and a line can intersect twice. That's fine. So I'm going to substitute 3 in. I'm going to get y equals x minus 3. So I'm going to plug 3 into that. So you get y equals 0. So your first answer is 3 comma 0. And then I'm going to plug in to y equals x minus 3 again. Y equals negative 1 minus 3. Y equals negative 4, which means our second point is negative 1 comma negative 4. Okay? Now, you're going to finish the rest of these for homework, 4 and 5, okay? And also, to finish the lesson, I'm going to set up number 5 for you because this just looks a little weird, but it's not that bad. Let's take a look. It's just a lot of algebra. So I want you guys, this one's kind of a bonus. I'd like you guys to try it, but we'll see. Everything else up to 4 you should be okay with. So what am I going to use here, substitution or elimination? Well, I see y equals, so you should be thinking substitution. What does y equal? X minus 4. So wherever we see a y, we should put x minus 4. So we get x plus 1 squared plus x minus 4 minus 1 squared equals 18. All I did was place x minus 4 there. Now keep in mind, this is a lot of algebra. The easiest way to do this is to graph both and find out what the points cross. I promise if this were multiple choice, you should absolutely do that. But now it just takes a lot of algebra because you have to do what is x plus 1 squared, then you have to simplify this and square that, then you got to set it equal to 18, you got to get it equal to 0, solve. It does take a lot of work. I will post a key for it if you want to try it. Give it a go. But again, you should be doing 1 through 4 definitely, and I already did number 1 for you guys, and then submit this by the end of the day.